Around Thanksgiving, I was traveling back home to Minnesota to spend time with my family. I decided to drive there as it wasn't a long drive. I'd have to drive through the night, but I didn't mind that as I find it relaxing to drive while listening to good tunes. I left for Minnesota around 11 p.m. and around 3 a.m. I started getting hungry. I kept my eyes peeled for a gas station with a 7-Eleven or something so I could fill up on some snacks, and maybe get a coffee to rinse out the exhaustion. As I kept driving through the dark highway, I noticed lights not far ahead. I was relieved I could finally get something to eat. As I got closer, I realized it was a small isolated diner by the side of the road. My eyes lit up at the prospect of having a decent meal. I mean, snacks would have done the trick, but at that point finding a diner was like having a 5-star meal. I parked my car in the empty lot and walked in. The bell above the door rang, but there was no one in sight. I thought maybe they had closed for the night. I walked in and said hello. I was looking around until an old woman stuck her head out from the kitchen to look at me. She gave me this wide-eyed look as if she wasn't expecting anybody at this hour. I asked her if the place was still open and her expression changed. She smiled and told me to take a seat and that she'll be right there with me. I sat down looking at the menu and browsing all the options I could go for. I could hear the old woman working in the kitchen, and a few minutes later she rushed out fixing her hair, almost out of breath. She walked over to me and asked, "What can I get you, honey?" I asked her for her recommendations and she started telling me about the best options. As I was looking down at the menu, I caught a glimpse of her shoes. She had white shoes on and there were red stains on them. I looked back at her to check if she noticed that I saw her shoes, and she was looking directly into my eyes with her same smile. All of a sudden her smile that seemed heartwarming just a few moments ago seemed a lot more sinister now. I tried to hide the fact that I noticed her shoes, but the way she stared at me, I think she knew I noticed. Her entire demeanor changed immediately and she asked me, "What do I want?" I said just some eggs and bacon and a cup of coffee would be great. I have to get back on the road. She smiled and said, "Don't worry, we'll have you fed and back on the road in no time." That caught me by surprise. She said we. I assumed she was alone there and didn't see anyone around. I was starting to feel really weird about this whole situation, so I got up and made an excuse that I left my wallet in my car. Just then her smile disappeared. She was starting to scare me now. Her eyes were locked on me just as I was about to exit the diner. As I was making my exit, I saw movement from the corner of my eyes and 2 big men walked out of the kitchen. I knew I had to make a run for the car now, and that's what I did. I sprinted full speed towards my car with the 2 men right on my tail. I narrowly managed to escape them both as I got back into my car and locked the door immediately. My victory was short-lived though. As I was starting my engine, one guy managed to break my window and grabbed my throat. He was trying to strangle me while the second guy was about to reach me and open the lock on my door. I could feel the air running out of my lungs as I struggled to breathe. I started to feel lightheaded, and at that moment I decided I was going to save my life no matter what. I put my car in reverse and floored it. I dragged both men with me and I heard the sound of bones snapping. I didn't care as long as it wasn't my bones that were being snapped. The grip around my neck loosened and I could finally breathe again. The old woman who was now standing at the door watching the whole altercation screamed and started running over to my car as I put it in drive and got out of that parking lot. It wasn't until a few miles into my drive that I figured out what had just happened. My paranoia had me checking the mirror over and over again. After I saw another gas station nearby, I stopped to contemplate what had happened and I called the police. I was informed that the old woman and the 2 men had been arrested and were severely injured, with one having a broken leg. In hindsight, I don't regret breaking his leg. I know it's inhumane to think that way, but I'm pretty certain what they were about to do to me would have been much worse.
I used to work at a Walmart as a cashier near my residence. I was a college student, and it was quick, easy money. The hours were good, and most of the people were nice. The Walmart I worked at was a big store. I'd see hundreds of people every day coming and going. One day, as I was about to go on a break, a woman approached me in panic and stated that she had lost her son. I immediately became attentive and asked her what her son's name is so I can announce it on the mic. She abruptly stopped me and said she saw him go into the bathroom, and he never came out. The store was usually not heavily populated during the later hours of the day, and due to that reason, the staff requirements were minimal. I looked around to see if there was anyone that can help her. But in the end, I figured I'd just try my best to help her out myself. The woman led me towards the bathroom. When we reached there, I noticed the woman had become a lot more calm compared to the panicked mess she was just a few minutes ago. She stood at the door and calmly asked me if I'd take a look inside. I'm usually a very paranoid person, and my gut instinct was telling me not to open the door. A feeling of dread and anxiety washed over me. I looked at the woman, and now it looked like she had a hint of a smirk on her face. I decided not to go in. I had a feeling that I didn't want to find out what was in the bathroom, so I quickly pushed the door open to get a quick peek. I pushed open the door and stood my ground, and that's when I saw a man in his late 50s lying in a pool of blood. I was in shock. Just then I noticed movement from the corner of my eye. I saw someone quickly duck down. I became paralyzed with fear. I didn't move a muscle until the woman started pushing me in. My flight or fight response kicked in, and I started screaming and fighting back. It was at this time that a large figure stood up from the bathroom and started walking towards me. I'm glad my screaming and shouting did enough to alert the employees around, and they all started running to my position. The man punched me really hard in the stomach, and I felt a sharp pain that I'd never felt before. I pushed him away, and he ran out of the store with the woman. When the other employees reached me, they were all in shock, as was evident by their gasps. They called 911 and told me the emergency services will be there soon. It was at that moment I realized. There was blood all over my shirt. It took me that long to realize that I have just been stabbed. I was taken away to the hospital, admitted for about 2 weeks. The police paid me a visit to tell me the people responsible for my condition have been caught, and showed me their pictures to ID them. It was the same people. I don't know why they decided to go on a murder spree in a public store, or what was their intention with me. I'm just glad they're now behind bars before they got the chance to hurt more people.
If you enjoy our content, help our team grow as we head on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Show your support by dropping a like and subscribing to our channel for future videos. If not, that's okay too. Just remember, sometimes the scariest thing in the world can be another human. Stay safe and stay vigilant.